Hello and welcome to the Alt Asset Allocation Podcast. Today's interview is with Josh Katz of YellowHeart, music and ticket NFTs. Josh is very passionate about the music industry, and it really shows in this conversation. He's worked with many well-known names in the music industry before becoming obsessed with Web3 and NFTs. YellowHeart was built during the bear market of 2018-2019, and then it launched for live events in Q1 2020, right when the entire world shut down with COVID. Then, with YellowHeart's help, in March 2021, Kings of Leon released their album as an NFT. First one, and they made over $2 million. So this really opened up the floodgates to artists thinking a bit more seriously about NFTs when it comes to their music as well as their live ticketed events. Think fan engagement as well as monetization. I am fascinated by the opportunity for NFTs as a way to engage with fans and super fans in more ways, and that's exactly what YellowHeart is working on. I actually just attended a conference, Blockdown, in Croatia that used YellowHeart tickets for the event. It was a pretty seamless experience overall, and now I have this ticket stub within my wallet for the end of time. Before you listen, please don't forget to like or subscribe to the podcast. If you enjoy this, share it with a friend, give it a like, give it a comment, send me a comment. I really, really appreciate these things, and it helps grow the podcast. Okay, Josh Katz of YellowHeart on music and ticket NFTs. Enjoy. Josh, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you on today.
Excited to be here.
So we caught up. I could talk to you for a long time, obviously, about all of the things the shared passions that we have. But this episode, as a recent user of YellowHeart, and I've been talking about NFT tickets for a while and music NFTs, excited to have you on and talk about all these things. But before we get into it, let's start off with a brief intro and how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm Josh Katz. I'm the founder of YellowHeart. I began my career in really the mid 90s in the music business. Since I was a child, I was passionate about music. I'm a guitar player. I'm a passionate, fish head, meaning the band Fish. I see them religiously. I love all live music, all genres, anything great I'm attracted to. I have been my whole life. I mean, even as a, young kid, I was collecting cassettes and LPs, nonstop, and entered the music business. Really in college as a promoter. I spent my summers interning at Island Records, made a lot of connections, went to school in Ithaca and started promoting shows and, raves and all the stuff in Ithaca. Left Ithaca and immediately had a job working for Clive Davis out of college. Launched me into the music business in really the highest level with literally the lowest tier job, where I'm going and picking up his tuna sandwiches, and walking his dog, literally walking his dog and getting him lunch. And but it put me in the main show immediately, but like at the lowest level. So, had that experience and then left and went and worked at Jive Records, which was cool. I went there for passion because, they had all this great rap music. I was super into Tribe Called Quest. That was their label, and worked there. And soon after joining that company, they came out with the Backstreet Boys, which became the biggest act in the world. And soon later, we came with Britney Spears. That became massive. And then NSYNC, that became bigger than all of them. Justin Timberlake came from that, and, matriculated. After a little while there, I kind of felt like I was losing my soul, pushing music that I personally didn't like. And I went the opposite way and worked in management for a guy named Jim Garno. For Jim, at the time we were managing No Doubt, which was Gwen Stefani's rock band, Offspring, who at the time were the largest rock band in the world. Chris Cornell, who is deceased, but he had a band Soundgarden, and this was, his solo career. Social Distortion, Beck, a whole bunch of other great artists that we were working with, and that was great. And then worked at BMG, and then, left the music business as file sharing emerged, and saw that file sharing was not going to be a thing. So I actually started a custom CD company where we were selling CDs out of hotel rooms and restaurants. And we did very well with that. And that actually matriculated into a background music company where we'd make CDs for cool hotels. And the Hotel Gansevoort, actually, the meatpacking in New York, came to me, the owner, and said, "Hey, the CD you made is great and it's this cool lounge music, but how do we get it to play in our lobby all day long?" So next thing you know, we make an iPod for him, and it kind of bubbled. And before you know it, we're building our own hardware, software, and I basically built the largest private streaming company in North America. And while had that company, I had DJs on staff. We're making mixes for Nobu and for all these great brands, and we were into all this cool stuff, sneaker trading, and like all this cool stuff that was going on, that these hipster dudes and ladies would bring into the office. And crypto came in. And, by 13 or so, like Bitcoin, we're all like figuring out how to buy Bitcoin. Oh, I own Bitcoin. What can I buy with it? We're like, oh, I heard you can buy this t-shirt with a Bitcoin. Like, and we're all like obsessed with this Bitcoin. And then ETH came out and it seemed a lot more accessible. And the use case, seemed a lot better to all of us. And it was funny because we were making playlists for, the hottest brands in the world, but the whole office is obsessed with Ethereum. So in 16, I sold that company. And basically went down the rabbit hole and knew that anything I was doing going forward was going to be blockchain based. So in summer of 17, I was hosting the New York Ethereum meetup. I had an office space in New York City in Midtown and brought in basically anyone who was developing Ethereum. I let them have desk space. And next thing I know, some guys are like, yeah, there's this Ethereum meetup that goes on. They're looking for a new space. Would it be cool if we did it here, like every whatever night of the week it is? And it ended up being 2 nights a week. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Bring it in, And next thing you know, it's like 6 o'clock, 2 days a week. The place fills up with all these really young people who are deep in the crypto space. New York Ethereum meetup. Simultaneous that summer as a fish head, Fish did 13 shows at Madison Square Garden. And I start going to the shows. And the first night I get a ticket, and the second night I get a ticket. And next thing you know, I need to buy a pair of tickets each night for my wife and I. And you think 13 shows, the prices would go down, but no, they went up. And by show 8 or 9, these $70 tickets are $500. And it's one thing if you go to a concert and you buy a ticket and that's it. The next day, oh, fun, whatever, move on. But I woke up the next day and had to buy those tickets again, and then again, and then again. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, where's this money going? These tickets are $70 and I just dropped $1,000 on a pair. Money is not going to the band. Like, where's it going? And I ended up whiteboarding this actually for the Ethereum meetup. And next thing you know, YellowHeart was born. And at the time, it was called Ticket Chain because we didn't know what else to call it. The Ethereum meetup kind of led to me whiteboarding the issue of fish tickets being scalped for astronomical numbers. And Ticket Chain was born with the notion being that if we put tickets out as non-fungible tokens on the blockchain, we could have transparency into who's buying, who's selling, who's redeeming. Plus, we could pull a royalty back off of any secondary sales back to the original stakeholders, meaning the band, the promoter, the venue. So that was the whole premise. And the company was born literally as the Baker's Dozen ended in August of 17. We headed down that path, and in December of 18, it officially really kicked off. And we were off to the races. So we built out the initial platform really through 18 and 19. In summer of 18, 1 year later, Live Nation invested in the company and became our funding partner. Live Nation owns Ticketmaster. So I ended up working closely with a guy named Jared Smith, who at the time was the chairman of Ticketmaster, to really hone in on the product. And he really explained the ticketing business to me from really the top guy in it. And I explained how blockchain worked to him and his team. And collectively, YellowHeart was originally going to be really new core technology that would be used by Ticketmaster. So at the end of 19, we finished our MVP and we were basically launching. So we begin beta in New York City in Q1 of 20, and then COVID comes. So COVID comes and nobody needs any type of live event ticketing anymore. let alone any type of new innovative technology for live event ticketing that most people didn't even understand. So Live Nation basically stopped funding us, and YellowHeart went out of business in May of 20. Me being someone who doesn't like giving up, I stuck at it and I didn't stop. And it was just me at that point. The entire staff was gone. But I was deep in NFTs and deep in crypto and believed in NFTs, and essentially kept the company going and basically refaced our IP to be a marketplace around NFTs that were non-tickets, but music-based. And I spent the summer and fall of 20 knocking on every artist manager door, trying to get them to put out music as NFTs or likeness as NFTs. And I got shut down by everybody. At the time, even the chain smokers, they were partners, not investors, but partners in YellowHeart early on. They even shut me down and said, no way we're putting out anything as an NFT. No one will ever understand this. No one cares about this stuff. Literally is what I was being told by a lot of artists. So finally, the Kings of Leon and their manager, who was actually pretty, he was digging in. He was looking for something to kind of get the band to the next level because they had finished music that was done before COVID that never came out. They couldn't tour anymore, and that was their formula. So he was looking for something, and the education began with him really in the summer of 20. And by March of 20, it took that long, we put out the drop. And when we put out the Kings of Leon drop in literally the first week of March of 21, it just exploded. And it became, a national story and then an international story, and YellowHeart was back. But we were back as an NFT marketplace for music. And from there, we've done a lot of things, but I'll kind of stop.
Man, I have so many. That story, that is much more in depth than some of the other ones. And there's so many new items there that I could just go off on tangents for a long, long time. I guess where I want to go next is you've worked with a very impressive line of artists and notable people within the music industry. It's crazy to hear that in early 2020, knocking on doors, screaming about music NFTs just being shut down. And presumably it was nobody wanted to be the first person, and Kings of Leon kind of went with your help and did this and kind of opened up the floodgates for everybody else, but maybe not. I mean, what kind of got people over the hurdle of, holy crap, maybe this is a good route for us to start pursuing or investigating music NFTs a little bit more? What was that catalyzing moment or that conversation that kind of got them over the line there?
It was Kings of Leon. It was Kings of Leon making over $2 million in 2 weeks, selling 5,000 albums to their fans. And the fans all stepping up and being thrilled to have something to buy for the first time in a decade. And having that shed light for the entire entertainment business on, wow, this is the next format. We should take a real look at this. And that was the moment, that was the watershed moment that really let everything kind of unfold and led, frankly, to the entire not only music business, but entertainment business opening up their eyes to NFTs.
That's incredible. And I mean, so in some small corners of the internet, music NFTs are a big deal right now. Like looking at my Twitter feed, you think everybody collects music NFTs, but then I talk to other people that aren't on my Twitter feed, and I realize how early we are in all of the NFTs, let alone, subcategories of NFTs. But looking back at that Kings of Leon drop, that first one that kind of catalyzed this movement, how has this music NFT experience evolved, or what could you have done better, or what would you do differently now that what with that drop? And I guess just how much further we've come in the last 15 months or so of big name music and ticket NFT drops.
Yeah, well, we should separate out ticketing, which we now, are doing again. We reopened our ticketing in November of 21 with NFT NYC. But, music is a whole different animal, and it's a really interesting one because there's a lot of use cases. There's memorialization of ownership. there's shared ownership, there's profit sharing, there's buying straight music, there's all these different areas that, NFTs fit around music. The issue is that what are the things that people actually want? Right now, when you could spend $15 a month on Spotify and have all the music that you could ever listen to, do you really have a need to go buy music as an NFT and spend more than that on one actual NFT? As a novelty for Kings of Leon, when everyone's still sitting at home during COVID, yeah, it made sense. And it was just a place in time where everything just hit, and like sparks suddenly flew. Right now, things have shifted in a big way where if you're going to buy one of these NFTs, you actually need to get something for it. And this is actually where Kings of Leon have stumbled in a big way. They put out 5,000 NFTs where people went and they bought them, actually almost 6,000 NFTs. And we, as a platform, our job is to put out the NFTs. And really, that's it. Now it's with the band. And now they have a direct connection to close to 6,000 of their diehard fans that each spent a minimum of $50 to $100, some of them up to hundreds of thousands of dollars on these. So now the band has a fiduciary responsibility to actually give what's called utility to those fans. Now, we came to them right away and we said, listen, the minute you start touring, we need to give all these folks perks. So what we did was they have something called the cherry pit, which is the GA right in front of the stage. And we let people who had the NFT buy cherry pit tickets for face value and get early access into the venue ahead of the general public so they could get a position in that GA area. We then went back to the band and we said, listen, you guys are a Tennessee-based band. You should do a concert in Nashville for all of the NFT holders for free. And they said no. We said that you guys should give the users ongoing perks, and they're yet to do that. And that's been a huge stumbling block. So the lessons learned are, if you're going to go out and you're going to collect millions of dollars or even any money from your fans, you need to give them something tangible in return, not just a digital good because it's called an NFT and it's new. That's like saying, yeah, give me 10 grand and I'll let you have a stream. And maybe 20 years ago, that would have been like, oh man, it's a new thing called a stream I'm going to get. But now it's just whatever, because NFTs will be your car leases, your apartment leases, your deeds, anything. It's going to be all these programmable contracts in your life. So in the music space, there needs to be more than just the music. There needs to be experience, access, fan access, all of these things that get built around using this technology.
Well, I also think that there is a bit of, there is something there because you have this NFT in your wallet for as long as that blockchain exists. And I mean, in the last 6 months or so, it's the bubble of everything, right? But like the collectibles of ticket stubs, physical ticket stubs, has gone absolutely bananas. And these things are being sold for thousands and thousands of dollars. My dad is a diehard music fan, and I used to work from their house whenever I'm home, and he has behind my head, or where I was working, this a glass case with all of his favorite ticket stubs, and it's like, well, I don't know how many $1,000 worth of ticket stubs he has there, but it's sold as this like mix of sports cards and memorabilia a bit. So there is that, but I do agree that there needs to be like additional utility. These are your true fans. Really woo them with that.
Ben, I'll tell you something. So there's a big difference between a piece of music and a ticket. See, the thing is that if I sell you a piece of art or a piece of music and it dies there, it needs to just be priced accordingly. Okay. If it's going to be priced for numbers that are beyond what music is worth in the perception of people's mind, there needs to be additional utility. In the case of a concert ticket, it's very different because you're getting an entire performance. And then what you're getting is in the case of our NFT ticketing, you have a digital stub that actually, traditionally ticket stubs are basically a receipt. They're a proof of purchase. They die when you get scanned into a venue. Or with YellowHeart's tickets, they actually come alive when you get scanned into the venue. and you scan in, and now you're a member of that community, or upon purchase, you're a member of the community. These are all people, for example, that are going to see Coldplay. And now you're all going to the show Saturday, and through that NFT, you can opt into a community. And that's where the metaverse comes in, where, YellowHeart has a metaverse opening in a few weeks that will allow pre-show and post-show socialization around the fans, where now you left Coldplay, the show's over, people scatter, but you could go to the metaverse and now you can interact with everyone that was at the show and have an experience.
Super cool.
We're doing that in real life with MGM right now, where, people leave the show and we give them a food and beverage credit at a certain bar. So that means everyone that was at that show is directed to that certain bar. The first round of drinks is on MGM, but now everyone's socializing together, enjoying the post-show buzz on an experience that everyone had together. Then you go home and it's like, okay, you saw Coldplay, just as this ongoing example. And because you saw Coldplay, here are other perks and benefits you might like as a fan of this band. And guess what? They're coming back to your town in 9 months, and here's early access because you were at the last show. And it keeps ongoing utility. So a ticket stub is very different because you actually get very tangible value for it. And it's just a matter of really evolving what it means to be a ticket.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect transition, talking specifically about NFT tickets. And it sounded like the MGM Jabberwocky event in Vegas. It touches on so many of these points that you mentioned a few of them, but let's talk about that experience for fans and how much additional value that like having an NFT provides for the attendees of something like that. Can you just walk me through that Jabberwocky's MGM event in Vegas and
Absolutely.
what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for MGM Jabberwockies, essentially what it was the ticket goes on sale as an NFT. Just think about this just as a format. That's all it is. It's a new format of a programmable file, right? So essentially it goes up for sale, you buy it. Now you're opted into that community. You go to the show. The ticket was actually black and white when you buy it. Now you scan into the show and it becomes color, and the Jabberwockies start dancing. So now your ticket stub is a modern day ticket stub of the Jabberwockies dancing. And there's two different varieties of rarity. There's unredeemed and redeemed. If you're unredeemed, if you decided, hey, I'm going to buy this as a collectible, and you don't scan it at the venue, it never turns color or activates. It stays black and white. Now you're actually showing up in person. You scan it at the venue and it activates and becomes color. You enjoy the show. After the show, depending on the tier of ticket you have, you get a food and beverage credit given to you while you're in the show, but only if you attend. Now you have a food and beverage credit. We had two tiers there. We had $25 and $100 based on whether it was a regular standard ticket or a VIP ticket. And that food and beverage credit was redeemable at a certain bar within the MGM property. So we saw over 50% of the people that had these tickets literally leave the show and go right to that bar to redeem their credit. And 100% of those people spent more than the food and beverage credit actually gave them. So it created an additional spend for MGM. I was there for the opening night, and what I witnessed was people who came out of the show that they all just enjoyed together, having a drink at the same bar and interacting with each other and meeting new people who just experienced the same thing together, which was amazing. In the future, there could be additional perks where you go from the bar and now there's nightclub access or pool access the next day or things like that within the property. And then in the case of this actual use case, the next day we actually dropped a collectible on everyone that attended saying, thank you for attending. And here's an actual digital collectible for the Jabberwockies, limited edition, first of its kind. And here it is for free. So that was really the whole experience on Jabberwockies.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Just curious, how is the actual checking of the NFT to get into these access areas? Like, does everybody have to have the YellowHeart app, even like the point of sale kind of system for redeeming the gift card? Like, how does all of that work?
So currently you need the YellowHeart app. The YellowHeart app allows for, functionality of NFTs. So right now, if you store an NFT in most wallets, there's no functionality around what you could do with the NFT. The YellowHeart app allows for the NFT to have a rotating QR code affiliated with it that has the user's, public address in it. So we know that's the right user with the NFT who owns it. It has streaming media in it so that we have streaming audio, streaming video. In the case of the Jabberwockies, the ability to airdrop them. But where we're headed as a product is we're actually enabling MetaMask in about 2 weeks, where a ticket in MetaMask can be scanned in through the YellowHeart app as well. So we have not only the front end user app that reads the ticket, but we also have a redemption app that the people taking the ticket actually use.
Nice. Is that going live for NFT NYC?
Oh yeah.
Sounded like the timing might work out very nicely.
Yeah, we're gonna have a series of very amazing events that we're gonna be powering around NFT NYC that are gonna be announced shortly.
Good deal.
So we're doing a few different things for NFT NYC. We have partnered with Tao Group, who's the largest nightlife operator in the world, and they have a club in New York called Marquee, famous club. And we're going to be activating 3 nights of NFT only ticketing. The only way to get into the venue is to buy an NFT ticket. Be the first of its kind, where we have a takeover of the venue. It's part of a greater partnership that we're doing with Tao Group around NFT and NFT ticketing. So we have Cascade one night, we have Nicky Romero another night, and then we have a third DJ that's slipping my mind. And we're going to be NFT only during NFT week in New York. We're also, addition to that, our NFT ticketing platform is also powering NFT NYC's actual award show. So in order to get into the NFT NYC awards, you're going to need a YellowHeart NFT ticket.
That's incredible. I mean, this is the future, right? Is like NFTs, you interact with them in this way that the actual Web3 blockchain component is obfuscated out, and you're just getting this collectible and this ticket that you can move around, and it's forever immutable on the blockchain. But I love what you guys are doing, like really pushing forward this experiential aspect. And what better place than a bunch of like Web3 degens to try out something like this? So very, very exciting.
Thank you. Another cool thing about the Marquee activation is we're going to have the metaverse activated. So we are launching a metaverse on Spatial for NFT NYC. So anyone who goes to Marquee will then have the ability to then come into the metaverse post-show and hang out with everyone that was in the club. So Super if you cool. Met someone at the club who you didn't get their info or whatever, you can literally meet up in the metaverse after the show.
Well, and like we were saying a bit before we started recording, like a lot of crypto Web3 people are slightly introverted and feel a little bit more comfortable behind their keyboard and behind the safety of their own house. So perhaps you saw somebody in the actual IRL event that you wanted to interact with. Well, maybe from the safety of your home in this metaverse setting, like you'll be a little bit more comfortable to say those things that you wanted to say in real life. Yeah, fascinating. And then so presumably that metaverse event would be token gated as well with that same ticket that you used, all kind of in a seamless manner.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Super cool. So transitioning, and again, like both this music and ticket NFTs both kind of play together in a nice little way, but you worked with a ton of big names in the music industry, and these, I mean, what are the key selling points for music industry execs that's in kind of going down this path of music NFTs? Is it mostly monetization for them, Kings of Leon, $2 million, and fan engagement, like super fan engagement, being able to airdrop things post-event and this metaverse stuff? Or what are the big selling points that really help these people get it?
So that is actually been a moving target, and it's been super fluid, where a year ago it was all about money. I mean, I had endless calls from people, I'm not going to tell you who they were, chasing money, who were used to making X amount of millions a year, got grounded through COVID, hadn't made any money in 2 years, and were like, show me the money. And I'm talking about some of the biggest stars in the world. They were all calling, wanting to just go after money. And We did not do that in most cases. We just said, hey, that's not our game. We're trying to put out long-lasting community products. And I know you don't see it today, but you'll see it eventually. We're not chasing money for you. So it's really changed where a year ago, it was chasing money up until really, I'd say, the end of last year. We had a joke where, we had so many people we were speaking with last year in the third and fourth quarter who wanted to do projects, who kind of delayed. And all of a sudden, the second week of January, every single one of them was ready to go. And they all went home over, Christmas and the holidays and read about NFTs and were ready to go suddenly. And a lot of people came back with the wrong reasons and didn't understand and thought that they could put out an NFT and say goodbye. And we then explained to a lot of those artists, some of them who you'll probably have seen stuff come out on YellowHeart and maybe not follow-ups on, that you can't put out an NFT and then walk away. This is not a show where you play it, you walk off stage and never see anyone again. This is, you put it out, and that's the beginning of your direct relationship with your fan base. And that requires daily or weekly attention to that fan base, because these are your super fans and they're buying into your community. And that's where this is all going. So now YellowHeart's NFTs that we're doing with artists are all about building fan bases and communities and giving the artist direct relationship to those fan bases. If you think about where things have gone, right? Where if you were a artist, a big superstar artist, or even a mid-level artist, you had a record label who worked for you, you had a PR agency, you had all of these things in place to get to your fans. Now, as an artist, you sit at home and you pop onto social media and you say, boom, here's my message, and your fans have it a second later, real time. And you don't need anyone else to connect to your fans. You're direct through social media. The issue is there's never been a way to do commerce with them directly. You then have to go out to all these third parties to sell your goods, who are all taxing you. So with our platform and with NFTs in general, what it does is it complements social media, where it's allowing these artists to build a community, where they built the social media community, but now they can really drill in and say, okay, you're a follower, but now if you own this NFT, I can actually do commerce with you. I can actually give you offers, pre-sale tickets, merch, experiences, really whatever you want. And that's where it's all going. So, we've been able to work with a lot of big artists, I think, because we keep it real. We've had endless, so many conversations with some of the biggest artists out there where I tell them exactly what I'm telling you, and they don't come back because they don't want to do the work.
Yeah, and I think it's very, very important to level set the expectations there, because it's not just set and walk away, right?
It's not.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, I'm excited to see the space continue to evolve and watch you guys and what you're doing for sure. When zooming out a bit, so this is being recorded kind of mid-June, and well, the whole crypto market kind of took a big ugly nosedive in the last month, but NFTs have as well. Volume is starting to dry up. Let's just go state of the NFT market right now, what it's like, and where you think it could be going over the next, pick your timeline of choice.
So the state of the NFT market is at an inflection point right now, where over the last 15 months, really starting in February and March of 21, NFTs went mainstream somewhat around profile pictures. And all these were the emergence of digital art, a store of value, and a first ability to actually memorialize ownership of something digital and have provable scarcity. So it led to the rise of the profile picture. Unfortunately, the profile picture has shed a pretty bad light on NFTs, where the mainstream looks at it and thinks it's a joke, which is not good. So it's basically polluted a lot of the better projects, because when you have true innovation with this technology around the use of it for all types of amazing applications, essentially to cut out rent-seeking middlemen in most cases, and to actually create amazing digital-based utilities, it got overshadowed by $100,000 profile pictures. So, and lots of scams that followed and people trying to achieve that. So essentially, the tide went out, all of the garbage got left on the beach. And now we have the 2.0 of NFTs where utility and the real use of them is coming into light. But it was a fast thing where it came onto the market and people were like, what the hell are these things? And it went to like, your local anybody talking about, oh, I got an NFT, or, I heard about an NFT, knew what it was before, but it emerged. So now we're seeing the evolution of the NFT for the real use of the technology, which is exciting. Because this technology will really help so many different industries cut down inefficiencies and cut out rent-seeking middlemen, whether it's a broker community, anyone sitting in a middleman business is going to be eliminated because their job had been to be the person that says, yes, I broker between A and B, where now a smart contract can be written with the rules, A and B agree on it, and now the contract is your broker. So you no longer need that. And, for ticketing, which we do, it's a big, big part of that, where there's been all of these rent-seeking middlemen sitting in that process. And this is going to eliminate them. So that's important. So it's a great time for NFTs right now. And really, I wouldn't even say NFTs, I'd say programmable contracts that evolve and really matriculate lots of businesses that have been stagnant for many, many years. So super exciting time.
Indeed. And sometimes when these, the massive bull markets kind of pull back, you have some time to concentrate and actually build things, as opposed to being distracted by all the shiny objects that are abound during massive bull market rallies. So zooming out a bit, like, where do you see this all going with NFT tickets and music NFTs, and kind of like what pieces are still missing for like this true fan experience, that you envision, and what does that look like?
Well, let me put it into two different parts, because music and tickets are very different from each other. So I'll start with music. Music right now is at a point where it went from 20 years ago where it cost you $20 to get one song, and it was painful, to $20 for every song ever created. And people like their music, yet music has been completely devalued. And to the younger generation, music is free. It has no value whatsoever. And it sucks. It really stinks for the artists who are out there, making this their life's passion. And the general perception is that music's not worth anything, when it's really amazing art that people belabor over, and it comes from their soul, and the general fan perception is it's worthless. So unfortunately, the damage has been done. I don't think it's going to be reverted. I don't think that people want to buy music as NFT, unfortunately. I think there are certain cases when it enables you into a community, when it enables you to have exclusive physical goods, when it enables you to have access to in real life experiences, it makes a lot of sense. But to just sell music as music, I don't think there are people buying. And I think that's something that's really not going to work out. So, we've seen other platforms come and saying, oh, you could own a percentage of the royalty. Well, let's break it down. If I own 1/1000th of 1%, and I paid $500 for that, and my royalty is 60 cents, that's not a great investment. So that's not going to work either.
Yeah, but over 7,000 years, it's going to pay off.
Maybe so I could feel the connection to the artist. It's like, oh, I own 1/1000th or 1/5000th of 1% of a royalty on streaming, and hopefully that song does well, even though it's the 11th song on the album, not the single. And maybe I'll get some money from it, but like, I think people are waking up and realizing, whoa, I'm never going to make a freaking penny off of that.
And
so that's a terrible investment.
legal hurdle, right? Like, because of these laws in the 30s and 40s, that thing is likely a security. And
it is a security. It is.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want it, but it definitely is.
Trust me, I'm not an attorney either, but I went down the rabbit hole on this 2 years ago. Actually, 3 years ago, right before COVID. And like, we went down the security and the money transmitter, the whole thing. And like, you can't do that without being a registered, money transmitter. So let's call it what it is. So I don't think these are sustainable models for the future. I don't. I think that there is discovery around that where it's like, okay, if people are willing to invest $100 in an unknown artist because they like it and they're supporting that artist, there becomes a SoundCloud model where it's like there's a leaderboard, and then there's like, oh wow, that artist raised $6,000 in $10 increments of people that wanted to support it, almost as like a paid SoundCloud version, and that's cool. So there's these other models that could really work. So music's tricky just because of the devaluation that's happened over the last 2 decades.
Give you the opportunity to talk about the key missing pieces for NFT ticketing going forward, and like what the future of NFT ticketing looks like overall.
Yeah, so ticketing is a really interesting space, and it's actually one of the most obvious use cases of 1.0 blockchain. It's an industry that's rampant with counterfeiting, fraud, bad actors galore, and outdated technology with almost no innovation in literally since the 80s. They moved from paper to digital literally like the last 5 years. And it's an industry that, for anyone that's tried to buy a ticket to a concert or a sporting event has seen how hard it is for no reason. So it really fits like a glove with programmable contracts where you could basically memorialize ownership, put rules into the contract, issue it as a ticket, then the funds flow directly back to the stakeholders. Plus, you then have the ability to program royalties. So if a ticket goes onto a secondary market, no longer does all the profits flow to a third-party scalper. It can flow back to the actual stakeholders. So it's actually the perfect use case. And then on top of it, add an NFT as your ticket stub where they are numbered. There's provable scarcity. And imagine you had a provable ticket stub to Woodstock or the 69 Mets World Series or a Beatles concert or a Led Zeppelin concert or Bob Marley, or, these are all super valuable. I mean, personally, I collect ticket stubs. I know you mentioned that, your dad does too. And these are mementos of our life. So now imagine a ticket stub in this format that has provable scarcity, could be traded, meaning sold or traded across open markets, and has ongoing utility where back to the, just to use a Coldplay as an example, where I have my Coldplay ticket stub and it opens up other opportunities for me. So let's take a step back. Let's look at Coachella, right? Coachella, one of the most recognized brand names in the world. Coachella makes money 6 days a year. So now you buy a Coachella ticket. You have that quote unquote stub, which is in NFT format. And when you buy the ticket, maybe it opens you up into the YellowHeart metaverse, where now you're not socializing with everyone just on those 3 days you're there. Maybe you're hopping in the week before and seeing where people are staying and who's seeing what. And maybe there are some preliminary performances. Then you come on site and it unlocks various access levels. Like, oh, you have VIP 1, you could go through this gate and keep going there. But then the real power starts when you go home from Coachella. And now we have interaction with you where we see that stub is in your wallet. The blockchain is transparent. So we could see what wallets are holding what tickets. And you might have a certain ticket that says, oh, Coldplay is coming to your town. You were at Coachella. Well, let's offer you early access to those tickets. Oh, here's a brand offer. Here's something free. Here's merch that Coachella is taking a piece of, but basically marketing to that massive fan base that's loyal to the brand. And that becomes super powerful. So these NFT tickets really open up way more than just a better concert experience, eliminating fraud and counterfeit and middlemen. It actually opens up a world to the various stakeholders in the live business to monetize pre and post event.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, these are the unsexy, very, very good uses of the blockchain, right? I always was saying like accounting, perfect use case for the blockchain. It's literally a ledger, and then something like a ticket, literally perfect for this sort of thing.
Ben, let me give you one more example on ticketing, which is pretty incredible. Think about 100,000 Coachella tickets, okay, compounded over all the years. and different artwork on them and them trading, even if they trade for $1 each. Coachella then has an annuity on every single ticket they've ever put out. So the tickets from 2005 don't die at the gate. They actually keep paying Coachella an annuity for life, just like a river of nickels, you know?
Oh yeah. And I mean, this social graph, this information of who you are as a human. I can now see your wallet, you, Josh, and all the tickets that you've collected, the type of person that you are. Then you layer in these other NFT like POAPs and things like that. You have this rich social graph of who you are, what you find value in, what you take interest in. So it's it's definitely one piece of the overall puzzle here for sure. So Josh, button up against the time. I know you've got back-to-backs all day. So it's been a tremendous conversation about all things music and ticket NFTs. Where can my listeners find out more about you or YellowHeart? Where would you like to send them?
Absolutely. So YellowHeart is yellowheart.io. It's our marketplace, our platform, or YH.io. My Twitter handle is Josh Katz YH. If anyone wants to reach out, just message me. Always into talking to fans and hearing ideas and, opportunities. So, we're a very open company. We want to hear from people.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been great having a conversation and looking forward to the next one and NFT NYC.
Definitely.
All right. Cheers. There you go. First off, thank you very much for listening all the way through. I hope you got a lot of value out of that conversation. As always, you can find show notes, links, and more at altassetallocation.com. Please share this with anyone you think might be interested and derive any value from this conversation. And as always, you can reach out to me for any feedback or questions. Please give the video a like, or even better, subscribe on YouTube or your podcast player of choice. This really helps others find the podcast or the video as well. Thanks a lot. Hope everybody has a fantastic day and stay safe out there and invest wisely. Cheers.